In a world shrouded in oppression, Lena and Miro discover a powerful alien artifact that may be the key to overthrowing a tyrant. As they navigate betrayal and danger, they must unite their fractured allies to challenge fear and forge a brighter future. Can they stay true to their morals when survival means making impossible choices? If you dream of entering universes or planets where humans shine when they meet unknown races, subscribe, turn on notifications, and you will be happy every day with new wonderful sci-fi stories. Well, let's go. In an era far removed from the glories of peaceful coexistence, the skies above Earth were grim and ashen, overshadowed by the oppressive stronghold of Nexon. The once vibrant colors of blue and white had faded into a monotonous gray, mirroring the despair that engulfed the planet. It was a landscape painted with strokes of fear and hopelessness, where the echoes of laughter from happier times had been silenced, replaced by the whispers of treachery and despair. Deep within the confines of a crumbling city riddled with scars of warfare, a new kind of horror had transformed everyday living into a mere act of survival. The General, a cruel tyrant named Vardon, reigned supreme with his iron fist, crushing all who dared to oppose him. His presence was a blight upon the land, and his soldiers, clad in black armor, moved like phantoms through the shadows. Relentless enforcers of his will who cultivated an atmosphere of fear with every step. Beneath the oppressive skies, Lena, a fearless pilot with fiery determination and quick reflexes, skillfully maneuvered her battered ship through the jagged remains of what were once bustling skyscrapers. A soft red hue, remnants of a sunset long lost to despair, cast elongated shadows across the desolate streets below as she steered her craft with grace and precision. The thrill of the chase pulsed through her veins, but lurking in the pit of her stomach lay an unsettling anxiety. Each mission was a dance on the edge of a blade, and she was acutely aware that failure could spark a catastrophe, not just for her, but for those who looked to her as a beacon of hope in a shadowy world. The ship rattled violently as blaster fire thrummed close by, the shrieks of engines mixing with the cacophony of destruction. Lena's eyes narrowed, and her fingers expertly navigated the controls with muscle memory honed from countless near escapes. "Get down," she shouted, her voice steady even amidst the chaos that erupted in her cockpit. Just then, an explosion detonated from her left, sending fragments of concrete and metal flying through the air, careening perilously close to her vessel. Across the battlefield, Miro, a brilliant engineer with tousled dark hair and a penchant for improvising technology from scrap, fought valiantly alongside his comrades. His determination gleamed like the sparks flying from the welding torch he wielded, as he shaped makeshift weaponry in an environment rife with panic. With sharp eyes and an unyielding spirit, he sought every opportunity to turn ruin into resistance. Yet around him, despair rippled through the ranks of rebels. "We can't hold out much longer," one rebel cried, his voice dripping with the bitterness of imminent defeat. Lena's ship swooped low, catching Miro's eye just as he had about given up hope. "Get on board," she yelled, her voice cutting through the din. The hatch swung open, offering refuge from the chaos. Without hesitation, Miro sprinted toward her, guided by a flicker of hope even as the fiery trail of a blaster bolt narrowly missed him. He clambered aboard, breathless yet determined, locking eyes with Lena as she grasped his arm firmly. "Are you ready to fight back?" she asked, the weight of uncertainty flashing in her striking green gaze. Yet determination swiftly followed, refusing to cower under the gravity of their fate. As the rebels regrouped in a concealed hideout, the atmosphere thickened with palpable tension. Shadows danced around the flickering flames of a makeshift fire, reflecting the uncertainty that settled like a heavy fog over the gathered resistance fighters. Lena and Miro exchanged glances, each silently calculating the risk of trust in this fragile alliance they had forged in the heat of battle. The walls of their newfound sanctuary were rough and cold, constructed from the remnants of a once vibrant city, now a ghostly testament to the desolation wrought by General Vardon's iron-fisted regime. "Miro, we need a solid plan," Lena stated, her voice steady yet tinged with anxiety. "But I need to know I can trust everyone here." Her cobalt blue eyes scanned the room, lingering on weary faces that had borne witness to countless skirmishes, strife, and loss, but whose loyalty now remained uncertain. Miro, seated beside an old workbench cluttered with scrap technology and makeshift weapons, furrowed his brow as memories of betrayal flashed through his mind. He recalled the scattered remains of trust that had once bound them to allies long gone, now either imprisoned or turned against them. "It's not just us anymore. Can we ever truly know if someone's heart remains loyal?" He mused lightly, his gaze drifting to a shadowy figure hunched in the corner, obscured by the haze of smoke and flickering shadows. In that moment of reflection, a low hum emanated from a chest hidden beneath the remnants of old circuitry. A collective curiosity drew the group's attention, and Miro stood to investigate. He knelt before the chest, feeling the vibration grow stronger. As he opened it, an ancient artifact glowed with an ethereal light, illuminating the cramped space like a beacon amidst relentless darkness. It was a crystalline structure, unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Its surface shimmered and shifted like molten glass under the flickering flame, sending ripples of energy through the air. This could turn the tide," Miro exclaimed, awe and exhilaration mingling in his voice. He laid his hands upon the artifact, feeling its warmth seep into his skin, igniting a rush of enthusiasm among the rebels gathered around him. Lena stepped closer, mesmerized. "Can it really help us?" she questioned, her voice a mix of hope and skepticism. "We need to be careful. Gift or curse, we cannot risk our lives for uncertainty." The hesitation in her tone hinted at the weight of the decision they now faced. However, unbeknownst to them, a traitor lurked amongst their ranks. One whose intentions were masked by a facade of solidarity and vulnerability. Dark clouds of uncertainty loomed over the group, tightening around their shoulders like an iron shackle, each member wrestling with unspoken doubts. Vardon's attention had sharpened, and he had dispatched his soldiers, brutal and relentless, determined to crush the rebellious spirit once and for all. The whispers of betrayal morphed into shouts of alarm as the tension thickened, combusting under pressure. At that moment, a deafening explosion shattered their illusion of safety. "They're here," someone yelled, panic weaving through the group. "We need to move. Stick together," Lena commanded, her heart racing as fear intertwined with adrenaline. She spotted the flicker of movement outside the doorway and felt a surge of instinct blaring in her mind. Each second felt extravagant, weighted with consequence. Miro feverishly reviewed the chaotic layout of the hideout in his mind, formulating a plan. "We'll regroup at the old hangar," he shouted over the panic, his voice cutting through the air with clarity. "The explosions will mask our escape." With urgency, the rebels scrambled, adrenaline driving them toward a frayed sense of hope. In the corridors where shadows twisted like lurking phantoms, Miro and Lena took the lead, guiding their comrades into the maze of debris that sprawled before them. The distant echoes of stomping boots reverberated through the dense, oppressive walls, amplifying the urgency of their mission. Taking a sharp turn behind an old reclamation unit, Lena's heart pounded violently in her chest. "We can't let fear dictate our decisions," Miro urged, sensing the growing doubt strangling the group's momentum. Upon reaching the hangar, they found remnants of prior skirmishes, broken ships and scattered equipment transformed into an intimidating but awe-inspiring sanctuary of resistance. Lena felt the tide of inspiration swell within her as she visualized the possibilities. The rebels could harness the leftover technology to fortify their defenses. Miro's quick mind swirled with ideas as he set to work, salvaging parts from the wreckage while others took positions guarding entrances, desperately scanning for any signs of danger. The space was cluttered with remnants of rebellion. Layers of grime coated everything, and old tools lay strewn about like forgotten dreams. As Miro connected wires and calibrated circuits, Lena's attention drifted toward the group huddled together. They were growing fearful. An emotional pot was boiling over, tensions fraying as mistrust began to creep back in, ready to unravel all they had fought to build. Nevertheless, Lena pushed that aside. "We have to trust in this group," she urged, her voice steadied by conviction. Unexpectedly, a shrill alarm blared, shattering the quiet resolve and reverberating through the hangar like thunder. The rebels' anxious faces turned toward Lena and Miro, their expressions a mixture of despair and determination. "What now?" someone whispered into the anxious silence. "The artifact. We need to utilize it," Lena replied, glancing at the glowing structure resting on the floor, beckoning them with promises of power. Every instinct screamed at her to harness its potential, believing it was their key to victory. Miro nodded, eyes alight with initiative. "This is our moment." He reached toward the artifact, a fusion of hope and apprehension flooding his senses. As the crystal hummed, responding to their touch, he felt a magnetic connection spiral outward. Suddenly, before they could act, a shadow crowded the edges of the hangar, materializing as a familiar face warped with malice. Lena, formerly a trusted ally, turned dark. "You've endangered us all," Lena's frantic voice accused, piercing the mounting tension with an edge of twisted betrayal. Miro's stomach tightened as he recognized the threat, the unshed grief of her betrayal surging through him. "Lena, we didn't have a choice," Lena refuted, her voice steady despite feeling its tremor beneath. "We're fighting for our lives. This artifact can save us." Disbelief twisted Lena's features, the frayed mask of loyalty slipping from her face. "Save us?" she spat. The escape was a whirlwind of confusion. The rebels scattered like leaves in a storm. Lena, Miro, and a few loyal fighters made their way to an abandoned outpost, teetering between their growing alliance and the unraveling threat of betrayal. A shroud of uncertainty hung over them like the smoke that clung to the ground, whispering reminders of the dangers that surrounded them. "Are you really going to trust Iris?" Miro questioned Lena, the unease thickening his voice as he surveyed their surroundings. They were concealed beneath a crumbling archway, surrounded by rusted machinery and haunting shadows that seemed to breathe their fear. Iris emerged from behind a pile of debris, her features sharp and brilliant. With wild, frizzy hair dancing like strands of electricity around her as she stepped into the dim, filtered light, she was a mix of genius and unpredictability. Clad in a patchwork of metallic fabrics and scavenged armor, her attire reflected her chaotic nature. She was equal parts mad scientist and resilient rebel. Her wide, curious eyes glimmered with untapped potential, revealing creativity that often bordered on recklessness. "She saved my life when I was cornered by Nexon's security drones," Lena replied sharply, her voice edged with frustration. Memories of that near-death experience resurfaced like a phantom, edging into her thoughts and fueling her determination. "We can't afford to divide ourselves now, Miro." But doubt seeped into Miro's heart, accompanied by the unsettling feeling of an impending storm. Shadowy figures flitted at the edges of his vision, evoking the fear of betrayal that loomed like a specter. A part of him wondered if trusting Iris might lead them into the very hands of their enemy. "Can we really trust her?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper as they all strained to hear the slightest sound of their pursuers. Iris grinned, a spark of excitement igniting her usually composed demeanor. We need to strike first. Vardon won't hesitate to hunt us down like animals, she urged passionately, though a glimmer in her gaze hinted at a deeper motivation. As they prepared for the uncertainty ahead, Lena excitedly detailed a plan that involved utilizing the alien artifact's power. If we harness its energy correctly, we could take the fight to Vardon's headquarters. We can't let him continue terrorizing our people, she professed, fervor electrifying her every word. Just as resolve began to settle, an unexpected voice echoed from the shadows, an ally turned foe. You've put us at risk. Kale, once a trusted member of their team, emerged, his face twisted in anger and betrayal. His hands clenched tightly around his weapons. The confrontation shifted the atmosphere, tension radiating as adrenaline coursed through their veins. Caught berating each other, Lena felt the complex web of loyalty unraveling. Kale, what are you saying? We're on the same side, she shouted defiantly, vying to break through the illusory barrier of mistrust that threatened to consume them. We've risked everything, and you blindly follow Iris into the lion's den. He spat, the passion in his voice fueled by fear and indignation. Miro, Lena called, turning to her ally with eyes that pleaded for clarity amidst the turmoil. We can't let this divide us. With his heart pounding, Miro quickly assessed the spiraling conflict. They were on the precipice of destruction, with loyalties fracturing and chaos ready to unleash. Kale, we need to figure out a way to work together, or we don't stand a chance against Vardon. His voice pierced through the noise, but the way Kale's brows knitted together indicated no ground had been gained. The tension matched the growing darkness of the night outside the outpost, illuminated only by the faint glow of stars. Something was brewing, and Lena felt that something unspeakable was lurking just beyond the horizon of their feudal minds, breeding distrust. In their heated exchange, Iris stored the chaotic energy boiling between them, evaluating how closely she could dance on the brink of manipulation. With a deft flick of her wrist, she adjusted her automated gauntlet, designed with alien technology that emitted a soft humming sound. A method of harnessing power that had previously saved their group from ambushes. She sought to use this tension to her advantage, drawing their focus back to the task at hand. Enough, Iris shouted, her voice cutting through the misunderstandings. Listen, all of us. If we don't take matters into our own hands, we are already dead. Let's focus on the real enemy, Vardon. He's hunting for us. Whether we trust each other or not won't matter if we're caught out here. The artifact holds secrets that could dismantle his stronghold. We've got to align our plans. The revelation hung heavily in the air, a truth buried beneath layers of anxiety and distrust. Relenting, Kale took a step back, frustration giving way to the underlying thread of fear that wove them all together. Fine, but if anything goes wrong, then we'll find our way back, all right? Lena intervened, a renewed resolve igniting in her. Strain threaded through their connection was palpable as they reconsidered the alliance. Amidst the crackling energy, a new layer of understanding surfaced. But as they acknowledged their shared mission, an overwhelming sense of darkness loomed menacingly just beyond their fragile truce. Outside, the air began to pulse. Nebulous shadows shifted across the landscape, thickening and coalescing as darkness blanketed their fragile sanctuary. They felt the familiar vibration of approaching ships, each pulsating with the menace of Nexon's troops. Iridescent lights streaked across the skyline, revealing the horrifying power of advanced technology as the night transformed into an arena of conflict. Prepare, Lena barked, her command igniting a fierce determination among her comrades. The stakes were unimaginably high. With their makeshift weapons clutched tightly, they formed a desperate line, steeling themselves against the torrent of chaos heading towards them. Miro exchanged glances with Iris, who was now an integral part of their hopes, yet there remained unspoken questions churning between their hearts. Suddenly, a blast rattled the walls of their hiding spot. The ensuing chaos whipped through the air like a tempest, turning their fleeting sanctuary into a battlefield. Vardon's forces unleashed a storm of blaster fire into the weary night, each pulse a reminder of the urgency that now engulfed their very souls. Inside, Lena shouted, pushing everyone toward a narrow corridor that led deeper into the outpost. They stumbled over debris and each other, adrenaline thrumming through them. Echoes of distant explosions reverberated against the concrete walls, accompanied by the cries of their comrades caught in the chaos. The remnants of the crumbling city loomed ominously in the distance, a haunting silhouette against the darkening sky. The rebels had made their way to a secret rendezvous point, a derelict building, its walls thick with memories of better days. Within this space, a palpable tension hung in the air as they gathered to discuss their audacious plan, an all-or-nothing strike against General Vardon's iron fortress. As Lena and Miro stood at the center of the assembly, their ragged team of warriors surrounded them, eyes flickering with uncertainty and resolve. The alien artifact lay before them, pulsing gently, a world of potential condensed into its shimmering surface. "This is our moment," Lena declared, her voice steady. "We can turn the tide against Vardon if we unite our strengths. The artifact has the power to amplify our abilities, but we must use it wisely." Miro, ever the pragmatic engineer, distrusted the artifact's unpredictable energies. "Lena, we don't know what effects it might have. What if it destabilizes us instead?" His brows knitted together in concern, contrasting the fierce bravery he wore like armor. "The only way we can find out is to use it," Lena responded, determination igniting within her. "We must trust in each other and in what we're fighting for." A murmur of agreement rippled through the group, igniting a flicker of hope within their weary hearts. The rebels prepared in silence, each one lost in personal thoughts about freedom, revenge, and the futility of their fight. With one last deep breath, Lena took charge. "Let's move out." The tunnels beneath the city were dark and damp, the echoes of their footsteps reverberating ominously, as if the very walls were keeping secrets. As they descended further into the labyrinth, anxiety gnawed at their insides. A tangle of darkness and uncertainty lay in wait. Throughout, Miro occasionally touched the artifact, feeling its thrumming pulse compelling and dangerous. Approaching the fortress's entrance, a sprawling metallic structure looming above them, they exchanged anxious glances. Its silhouette against the ashen sky was foreboding, but within Lena's pulse surged determination. In her heart, she felt the weight of her companion's fears and hopes resting upon her shoulders. "Remember, we're one in this fight," she whispered, clasping Miro's hand tightly. Just as they positioned themselves at the entry point, an erratic blaring of alarms shattered the silence, vibrating through the rigid structure. A signal they had been discovered. "They're onto us," Miro shouted, scrambling to take cover as a hail of blaster fire arced over their heads. "Stick together," Lena ordered, adrenaline coursing through her veins as the rebels ducked and weaved, narrowly evading enemy fire. They pushed deeper into the fortress, the metallic walls echoing the sounds of their struggle. The aesthetic of the fortress was both neoteric and unsettling. Walls constructed from advanced alloys gleamed under the harsh, stark lights, casting eerie shadows sporadically across the tiled floors. Suddenly, a squadron of heavy-clad Nexon soldiers appeared, their movements precise, driven by the ruthless command of their general. With movements that mirrored Miro's engineering instincts, Lena thought angrily of how Vardon had transformed humanity into mere pawns under his control. "Now's our chance," Lena bellowed, retreating only to rush forward into the fray. Unleashing fire from her blasters, she pushed the soldiers back as an explosion rumbled nearby, shaking the very foundation of the fortress. Miro's hands trembled as he pulled out improvised devices, ingenuity flaring in his mind as he activated a makeshift smoke grenade, obscuring their enemies. With the floor shaking, Lena felt the surging energy of the alien artifact, unlocking a sense of unity among everyone fighting. It whispered promises of power, awakening something deep within her. She could almost hear it calling, beckoning her. "Miro!" she yelled, eyes ablaze and body thrumming with urgency. "Now, activate the artifact." They raced toward the central chamber, a vast space dominated by an eerie, pulsating light emanating from the artifact. As it flickered in crescendo, it resonated with their collective determination. Miro laid his hands on it, feeling a tidal wave of energy surge through him, flooding to every corner of his being. He felt clearer, sharper, more connected to the team than ever before. The blaring alarms intensified, and the sound reverberated through the hall, drowning out their whispers of strategy. They could feel the approaching soldiers. Vardon's sense of urgency was palpable. Yet instead of fear, a new sense of purpose invigorated them. Lena stepped forward, galvanizing her comrades around the artifact. "Close ranks. Let our bond empower us," she commanded, her voice echoing with unwavering confidence. The atmosphere thickened as they reached out to one another, forming a united circle. The artifact bathed them in a brilliant luminescence, a symbiotic connection to their shared goal. As the power surged, they became a living wall of energy, blaster fire ricocheting away harmlessly. Unity soared through them. The soldiers, once an intimidating force, began to waver under the veracity of their combined strength. Vardon himself appeared in the doorway, a storm of fury casting shadows across his scornful face. "Do you really think you can defy me?" Vardon sneered, brandishing a weapon that pulsed with dark energy, a stark contrast to the glowing artifact. His presence seemed to harness despair, and yet, Lena could feel the edges of her significance sharp against it, a fight not just for freedom, but for hope itself. "To defy you is to reclaim our lives," Lena shouted, forging strength from the depths of her spirit. Miro glanced at her with admiration and fear intertwined, understanding the weight of their endeavor. With grim resolve, Lena pressed herself forward. This was not merely a battle of technology. It was a confrontation of wills, a clash of ideologies that roared through the vastness of the chamber, tugging at the fabric of existence itself. Just as the duel escalated, another twist of fate unfolded. A traitor emerged from their midst, hidden intentions unveiled in the heat of battle. "I've aligned with Vardon, believing only he could truly guide us." The voice struck the group down like an arrow, betrayal wounding their core. Gasps echoed as the rebels' treachery unraveled the fabric of trust that had held them together. Lena's vision blurred with disbelief, and anger flashed like lightning within her. "How could you?" she breathed, her voice barely escaping, overwhelmed by despair. In that electric moment, clarity struck Miro. "Together!" he shouted, refusing to succumb to devastating splinters of loyalty. Lena nodded, drawing upon the wisdom of their shared fight, igniting the artifact's true potential. The air crackled with energy as Lena, Miro, and their companions prepared for their final confrontation with General Vardon. It was a moment fraught with tension, a crux that felt both monumental and inevitable, as each of them grasped their weapons tightly, hearts pounding in unison. Lena stood firm, an indomitable flame ignited within her heart, reflecting the fire that burned in the eyes of her comrades. "Your tyranny ends here, Vardon," she declared, her voice unwavering amid the chaos erupting around them. Vardon, a colossal figure clad in dark armor adorned with insignias of power, sneered in contempt, his glacial eyes boring into Lena's. "You think your small rebellion can overthrow me?" The general spat, his voice a chilling growl, filled with disdain. "You are but a flicker in the wide cosmos, easily snuffed out." With a roar, Vardon lunged forward, a deadly glimmer in his grasp. Miro, understanding the urgency of the moment, was quick on his feet, harnessing the power of the alien artifact that glowed ominously in his grip. "We fight together," he shouted as they formed a united front, igniting a storm of determination that swept through the room like wildfire. As blaster fire erupted, echoing like thunder, Lena and her allies unleashed a torrent of energy. Bright sparks flew as bolts of energy collided in bright flashes. The scene was chaotic, a synthesis of sound, light, and fury. It felt as if the very air around them vibrated with their defiance. Miro focused, channeling the unique energies of the artifact. His hands moved deftly over its surface, eyes alight with purpose. "It's not just a weapon," he called out to Lena amidst the din. "It's a beacon, a source of unity. We need to amplify it." Realizing the connection between the artifact and the bonds they shared, Lena nodded fervently, a plan sizzling in her mind. "Together, we create a shield. Let's protect each other first." Just as they began to gather their strength, a moment of betrayal rippled through their formation. One of their own, a soldier named Tarek, jumped toward Vardon with a manic glint in his eyes. "You can't win this, Lena. You're misguided," Tarek shouted, lashing out as he aimed for the artifact, craving its power for himself. "Betrayer," Lena gasped, the realization crashing over her like tidal waves. Her heart sank at the sight of Tarek, his ambition twisting him into something unrecognizable. Fear coiled tightly in her chest, but in that moment of despair, she felt Miro's hand on her shoulder, a grounding force amidst the chaos. "We can overcome this," he urged, determination flooding his voice as he adjusted his stance, preparing for the onslaught that was sure to follow. Lena met his gaze and saw the unwavering belief reflected in it. Their bond had deepened in ways she hadn't realized until now. As the clash erupted into chaos, the chamber filled with explosive energy, both Vardon and Tarek desperate to claim the artifact. Lena felt the swirling currents of power pulsing around her, begging to be harnessed. She took a breath, steadied her heart, and called out to her friends. "Focus on the artifact, trust each other." The room began to illuminate, an otherworldly light emanating as they channeled their collective strength through the artifact. Miro, his voice a steady anchor, shouted incantations learned from the texts they had studied earlier, invoking the remnants of ancient alien knowledge hidden within them. In a climactic flash, Tarek lunged towards them, reaching for the artifact. But Lena's reflexes kicked in. She pivoted, deflecting his initial strike with a swift maneuver, countering with a swift blast that sent shockwaves through the air. "We are stronger than you think, Tarek," she cried. As Tarek stumbled back, Vardon seized the moment. But Miro was quick, redirecting the energy of their shield to envelop the general. The room trembled under the force of their unity. Blinding rays of light cascaded off walls, framing their defiance like an explosion of stars. Amidst the volatile chaos, Lena felt an overwhelming sense of purpose swelling within her. She closed her eyes for a fleeting moment, aware of each heartbeat, each breath echoing with her companions, Miro, Iris, and the others who stood by her side. They were woven together by shared risk and sacrifice, a tapestry they had forged amidst the war. In a final act of solidarity, Lena and Miro pushed their energies toward the artifact, igniting it in a brilliant blaze that burst forth like a supernova, cascading light around them, enveloping Vardon in blinding luminosity. It was beautiful, horrifying, powerful, a manifestation of everything they had become in their struggle against tyranny. As Vardon, blinded and furious, attempted to retaliate, the artifact summoned the remnants of a dying star, sinking the general into an abyss of unending darkness. His screams howled, mingling with the echoes of the past, a sonorous reminder of what they had risen against. As chaos settled, the remnants of the battlefield became eerily quiet, the echoes of their struggle lingering in the still air. Lena and Miro stood hand in hand, catching their breaths, hearts entwined in a bond carved through fire. "You did it," Miro said, off-filling his voice as the artifact pulsed gently, its light now a soft glow, a beacon of hope amidst the desolation. Trailing fingers over the now-still artifact, Lena smiled softly, a tear escaping down her cheek. The journey had been painful, marked by loss and betrayal, yet here they stood, not only alive but victorious. Together, they understood that despite the beautiful fractures left by battle, the true power lay in their bonds forged through adversity. As the dust began to settle and the gravity of their victory sank in, Lena realized that they could not only emerge from the ashes, they could thrive. They had cultivated a sisterhood and brotherhood that transcended the torment of betrayal, a vibrant tapestry woven with trust, understanding, and unwavering loyalty. A new dawn broke over the remnants of the Iron Fortress, casting beams of light that danced through the shadows of their battered spirits, a promise of rebirth and possibility. They looked toward the horizon, knowing that the sun's glow didn't just signify a victory over Vardon, it heralded a future filled with hope. "We are nothing without each other," Lena confessed, her voice thick with emotion. Miro nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "And this is just the beginning." With a shared glance, a promise lingered, washing over them like the first light of dawn. They embraced the beauty of sacrifice, knowing their battle had forged a foundation of trust for generations to come. As Lena and Miro gazed upon the burgeoning dawn of a new day, they knew that adversity would always rear its head. Yet, standing united, they also accepted that while the universe harbored mysteries and challenges untold, their bond had the power to illuminate even the darkest voids. In that endless expanse of existence, they were no longer mere sparks flickering against an oppressive night. They were stars, lighting the way toward an uncertain yet profound future. Together they would face whatever awaited them in this vast universe, their hearts beating as one in the rhythm of the cosmos, guided by the brilliance of unbreakable bonds forged in battle. If you liked this story based on real events, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to like it. Here you can dive into a different reality every day, where anything can happen. Comment below what kind of story you would like to hear here. Thank you very much for your attention. We are the Sci-Fi family.